with the tape. Hi, I'm Damon. I'm a field engineer at Westinghouse, and here are my colleagues. In Denver, Colorado today with Gerber Security Electronics. We're about to start classroom training. Also with us today is Doug Buffington from Hewlett Packard. He's the security manager, and I'd briefly like to introduce you to them and then get on with classroom training. Leo, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Leo from GSE, and Guy Furrow and a couple of other people, myself, were the ones who installed the actual equipment, and we had some other people that were contracted by Hewlett Packard to run cable and do the electrical work. And I think this job was pretty rushed, but I think it went pretty well. I think we've learned a lot and it looks really good.
Are we on schedule?
We're on schedule.
Okay, and how about you, Doug?
Doug Buffington, I'm the security manager at the Loveland Hewlett Packard site here, and have overall responsibility for the system. Went through a lengthy process to select Westinghouse software, and I'm looking forward to working with it.
Great. Okay, now we'll state what we've accomplished so far. In 2 days, today's Wednesday right now, October 26th. In the last 2 days, we've accomplished getting our devices online from the CIA, and in addition, this morning we put the Ethernet system online for X Windows, X Terminal. This is our system configuration. I start with the system configuration because we troubleshot last night and into the morning about our devices. This is your overall configuration, so you know what equipment you have. We have the SE6000, which is connected to our terminal concentrator through the host adapter card, which is connected to the CIA communications input box, which has 8 inputs, RS-232 or 20 milliamp, over short haul modems to each building that has a CIA, and your 818 SXs and 422s are located off that second 818. We have one polar. The computer ID of the 6000 is 0. The polar number is number 1. We only have one polar, and the device addresses of each of the 818s are number 1, number 2, up through number 7. That's the system configuration.
Can I ask questions and know this?
Okay, let me state that in order to get all the devices up online, we used the 6000 as a dumb terminal, and we pulled each of the devices. We did find wiring problems. We used crimp connectors, and we found that one of the cables of the crimp connector that connected from the CIA to the short haul modem needed rebuilding. It was actually a crimp problem. And Leo, we had to rebuild the CIA cable, right?
Correct.
Okay, and we used an adapter rather than putting crimped pins onto the flat telephone cable. Go ahead, what were your question?
I was just curious about what the definition of a polar. That's a new term for me.
Okay, let me get into the definition of computer ID, polar number, and address a little deeper later on in the training. Just keep in mind, each of our devices needs a software address so we know how to access it. The 6000 itself has computer ID of 0, so that's his address. The polar number, so we know which port we're connecting off of. The terminal concentrator has 8 ports. We hook up a log printer, a report printer. We hook up the polar, and we hook up our dumb terminals off the terminal concentrator. The polar number is the port at which your devices connect up to. In fact, really your CIA, where your CIA connects up to, and then off of your CIA, you'll have all of your devices. So the polar number is, if you only have one CIA that connects up to your terminal concentrator, you only have one polar. The device address for each of these, within the microprocessor of the 818s, there's a software address which you put in, and you put in address number 1 through address number 7 for your system right here.
You can go up to 240.
Okay, these are the areas that I'd like to cover at the 6000 itself. Monitor security activity, database entry, system maintenance, and reports. These are the main functionalities that we'll be covering over the next 3 weeks to a month. This is the second part of our system. The second part of our system is our Ethernet system. The internet address that we try to get our devices on was 15.11.26 and 248 and 246 for our host and X terminals. We found that number one, the Hewlett-Packard Ethernet system did not acknowledge our own dedicated internet address of 192.0.0. So Hewlett-Packard came up with its own dedicated hub, and our X terminals in 6000 is operational. We went to the X terminal, and at the C:\WRQ net prompt, we used the ping command to access communications to the Ethernet and to our 6000. The actual ping command was ping 192.0.0.1. Dot 1 is the host address, dot 2 is the terminal address. When we pinged that host address, we got three messages back. We got packets transmitted, packets received, packets lost. We got 100%, 4 packets received, 4 packets transmitted, and 0 packets lost, which is a good indication that the system will come up. When I went to the 6000 and pinged to the other device, we got similar response. 0 packets lost. Okay, back to RS-232 communications. All of your devices are start with RS-232 communications from the host 6000. As far as the installation and startup goes, we used the 6000 as a dumb terminal to the CIA, and we were polling each of the devices.
That's from the root.
Right. After making some file changes in the root system, we set up the 6000 as a dumb terminal. If your system isn't set up for that, you can hook a dumb terminal to the CIA using Reflections 4 terminal emulation program or any other terminal emulation program. That's where we resolved all the wiring and addressing problems. Going back to the system configuration, we initially shorted pins 2 and 3 at the CIA to verify that we could have loopback. We had intermittent loopback. We'd get connected up to the CIA, try to type in characters, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. As a result of that, we removed the cable that had crimped on connectors, and we replaced it with a solder type, crimp and solder type. After that, we could get loopback to the CIA. Then we did a digital loopback at the short haul modem, pushing the push button at the short haul modem, and we resolved that wiring problem. Once again, it was a crimp-on wiring type problem. After that, we did a loopback at the next short haul modem, and we were able to loop back. Then we connected up to the CIA and we pulled the devices. When I say pulled the devices, I'm specifically talking about using a dumb terminal and issuing the host protocol of L01, and the ACU will respond back with N, or it will respond back with a 20-character string, the first 3 characters of which are L for log and 01 if 1 is the actual address. Each of the units did respond back, and once again, if you have over 10 devices, it is hex, so you'll use A through F for hex, A representing 10. capital L08. When all of the devices responded back using the dumb terminal, we next booted up the 6000 into the monitor security activity window. We brought one device on at a time, and this is how you start up your system, bringing one device on. You go into the master file entry, into hardware configuration, and then go to the device entry screen. When you go to the device entry screen, you'll find that all of your devices, all of your hardware devices are disabled equals yes. When it says disabled equals yes, that means the 6000 will not send out this L01 poll. It'll just be no messages for being transmitted. So we brought one device online, we said disable, we changed it to disable equals no, and the first thing we saw appear was we flipped to another window, and in the monitor security activity, we saw a host database acknowledged transfer, and then we saw a device database acknowledged transfer. When we saw that, the 6000 in the communication screen was polling L01, sending out that message to the unit, and the unit did respond back with N. This is the starting up the 6000, bringing all of your devices online. Okay, that was monitor security activity. That's a quick insight to bringing your units online, and now I'd like to get into database entry. Our client, Hewlett Packard, is about to get into the key holder entry phase. There are 2,300 key holders into our system right now, but the key number actually isn't put in there yet. There are 3 pages to the key holder ID, page 1, page 2, page 3. Page 1 and 2, on page 1 you select your key type and key number and personal information, also on page 2. Page 3 is where you put your access code and access group. I'd like to be specific and say for this site we're planning only on using access groups. The reason being is we want to keep it organized, and we'll let each of the key holders have access groups that are about to be defined. And this is how we define it. We are, number 1, we'll have many classes of employees. Employees that will have full access Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, holiday, 0 to 2400 hours at all readers. For 818s, readers 1 through 8. For 422s, 1 through 2 for those 2 readers. The access code has 4 fields. I'm covering the principal fields. The access code, we give a number to it, 01. The description, I like to give a clear-cut description of the days, the hours, and the readers. So as you page through each of your 40 access codes, you know specifically what the functionality is. You don't have to go deeper into the code onto the next page to see what it is. The downloadable device ID is the downloadable device ID for each of your units. Your 818s were numbered 100, 200, 300, up through 700. The downloadable device ID means that this information will be stored locally right at that unit rather than stored at the 6000. So access code 1 will give us full access Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, holiday, 0 to 24 hours at all readers. Access code 2 for the 422, the description is Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2400 hours at both readers. And that's downloadable device ID 200. When we go to the key holder and start entering Doug's key holder, we'd give him an ID of 1, or if you're using social security numbers, whatever logic we have. We'll just start with key holder ID number 1. We'd they are using 1050s and 1030s. If we're assigning 1050 cards, we'd give it a key type of 1050 and would input the 8 digits for the 1050. On page 3, we'd go ahead and assign the access code. If Doug wanted to be on the 24-hour, 7 days plus holidays at all readers, we'd assign a group to him. Access group has 4 fields, but I'm covering the 3 important fields. We'd give it an access group description of full access for ACUs 100 and 200. And if you save it, you'll get onto the next page, which would include access codes 1 and 2. So if we went to page 3 of the key holder and assigned key access group number 200, it'd have full access to ACUs 200 and 100 by definition. For the more restrictive access groups, for the employees that work 8 to 5, 8 to 4, we'd start making up more access codes and classify them into a different access group. We'd make up access codes 3 and access codes 4 for the same device IDs. The description would be Monday through Friday, 7 to 1700 hours, readers 1 through 4 if you only wanted them to access readers 1 through 4. Readers 1 through 4 may be the main entrance lobby for each of our buildings at this site. We have multiple buildings. It's up to you, by definition, what the hours and what readers you want the successive employees, your engineering department, your security department. Each of those departments, you make different access groups, different access codes, and put them into a group. Access code 4 for device 200, you would make Monday through Friday 7 to 1700 as a time code. Readers 1 if this were the main entrance door for building 2. You'd group them together in the access group 201, and in access group 201 you'd assign access codes 3 and 4, which would be specifically allow the key holder to get into device 100 and device 200 for the designated times. Once again, the access code on page 3 would look something like this. You'd give them access code 0 and hit the enter key, and then you'd assign them an access group for this daytime use 7 to 1700 at devices 100 and 200. That's the access code and access group for page 3 of the key holder entry for database activity. Okay. As far as downloadable device ID, we'll cover this area of the pollers, devices, and readers. Access codes are linked up to device IDs. Here's our system, SE6000 to the MUX box, CI8, modem, CI8, and your 818s off of that. We only have one cable coming into the MUX box for our CI8, and that's polar number 1. You'd create a polar ID, assign it an ID number, and computer ID is 0. Polar number is number 1, it's our only polar we have, and the polar type is 808s. There are different polar types. You're using 808. Now you have 7 818s and a few 422s. You'd get into the device entry screen, which we have already built, and you'd assign device ID numbers 100, 200, 300, 400, etc. for each of your ACUs. Computer ID would be 0, polar number 1, and address would be 1 for the first unit, 2 for the second unit, 3 for the third unit. And you'd save each of these devices. That's a brief overview of how your devices get inputted to database entry. Let's take a look at the database entry summary. What we're looking at is for the key holders, you'll be assigning an access group to it. You'll be assigning a key type and key number for each of your employees. We're using 1030s, 1050s, and 1060s for On the 818s, we're just using sensors, 2800 sensors, no VIP keypads. For 1030s, a 1030 is broken up into 3 groups. The first group is a 5-digit group, which is your key number. Your second group is the facility code, which is 4 digits. Your third group is a run code, which is 3 digits. What we particularly need to pay attention to is in the key holder entry screen, we need to designate the proper key type. If it's a 1030, make sure you designate a 1030 key type. A 1030 key type is number 1 through 77777. 1050 key type. Briefly, 1050 is 8 digits. It ranges from 5 million to 24 million. A 1060 key is also 8 digits, and it ranges from 24 million upwards. That's the summary for key holder entry. Okay, our next aspect is system maintenance. For system maintenance, periodically you'll be doing full volume backups, which backs up not only your application, but your operating system and your entire hard disk. Your database backup only backs up your database application. Usually, your full volume can take up half an hour or more, depending on how many megabytes. It records somewhere around 5 megabytes per minute. Your database backup takes roughly 15 minutes. Once again, it is dependent on the megabytes of your information. The next aspect of system maintenance is periodically your 6000 is capturing log events, and as your log events are stored in a table, at some point your table will become 75% full, and you'll get a log message in your real-time monitoring. When you get this log message, you'll have to archive this information from that hard disk table onto tape, and that's part of your system database maintenance.
Yes.
Archiving logs versus display statistics. If you haven't seen that alarm message about your 75% full transaction, almost full, you can do go into your database and take a look at your report that says display database statistics, and your public ARKist table will give you your row count and your total row count. You want to archive this soon once you see that transaction full message, or when you see that it's approximately 75, 80, 85% full.
Is that file dependent on the size of the hard disk, or is it a set?
It's set through parameters. It's set according to your system, whether it's a 6050, 6100, 6200. Keep in mind that if you don't acknowledge the transaction almost full message and you let it get up to full capability, you'll just get database error messages once it reaches that full capacity of that table.
So it won't accept any more logs, or
So
it'll dump logs?
so it will not accept any more logs. You'll just get database error, and you'll call us up for support. Briefly, that's the overview of system maintenance. Reporting. Reporting, you can run reports on key holders. If you want to see who has had access to certain doors, or if you can use this as a troubleshooting procedure too. You can run a report for device timeouts during a certain period and see if any devices are timing out and presenting problems. If you're having key holder problems and you want to see if you're getting any invalid read logs, you can run a report to find out which key holders are having trouble. At the start of this, we should run a report for all of your pollers, devices, and readers and access codes. So you have a book that has your database entry in it. So when you want to assign access codes to to key holders, you have it on paper and you don't have to really thumb through your 6000, which only gives you a snapshot of a time at a time. Your book will give you your overall view of what your access codes are and your groups and assigning it to key holders. That's your 6000 reporting capability. You also have Accel IQ, which you ordered with your system, and briefly, with Accel IQ, you can build and store your procedures, and also you can paint and customize the report to include report functionality. If you want to run certain reports, monthly reports on key holders that have expired, or contractors who are no longer working on your site, you can run Excel. You can build and store the report and periodically run this report. Using Accel IQ, you can give a report description, and you can give a definition of each of the fields that you're running the report on. Once again, you can customize your report. Over here, these are standard, they're non-adjustable. Non-adjustable in the sense that you cannot give a description of what the functionality of the report is. Okay, now we're on to the immediate situation at hand. Presently, no one except ad users is logged onto the system. We need to log all the guards and the people who will be utilizing the SE6000. Logging onto the system. We have, when you get into system administration and the ad users section of the menu, there are several fields that you prioritize and give to each of your guards and managers and keyholder database entry people. Your program security is one of the fields, and you can select the program security to monitor so that whoever is assigned this login name, he can only monitor activity, or if you give him a different program security level, he can adjust the keyholder database, and if you give him full access, he will get the full menu option of the 6000. Also, you can give him alarm servicing, F for fast acknowledge, and assign him a keyholder ID, so when he unlocks and does manual activity through the 6000, his keyholder ID appears in the log. These are the primary fields that we're interested in because we have different categories. We have the guards who will be monitoring activity, then you'll have the people who will be adding database, and then we'll have the system administrator who will have full access and manage the 6000. You'll also assign a password, which will be generated by the system administrator. In line with this, you can display all of the people who are logged into your system. I want to make you aware of there are two special logon messages. Shutdown as a logon. The password new123 will shut down your application, and after all the files have been closed, you'll be able to turn off. You'll get a message that says safe to power off or reboot your system. Recover is a special logon prompt that you use when you want to recover one of your database backups only. You will never use that, should never use that, unless if you have an emergency condition, and my recommendation would be to call Westinghouse to guide you through it for the first time. Once again, if you use recover, make sure you have a database backup in the drive, and your password, and you'd have the usual password. If you do recover, if you do log on as recover and you don't install a database backup, your system will go into default and will have to rebuild your application again, which can be time consuming. So my recommendation, once again, would be to never use recover unless if you're in an emergency condition, and give us a call before you work with that. Periodically, if you're consistently on a weekly basis, if you're making database changes, make sure that you're doing database backups. So if you do have that emergency condition, you can recover yourself onto your most recent working backup.
I'd like to add one thing here too.
Go ahead.
Before you turn off the system, you always have to do a shutdown.
So it's a log out and shut
Yeah,
down.
so first thing you do is log out of all your sessions. You have 3 sessions. And once you log out of there, then you're back at the login prompt, and that's when you do your shutdown, 1, 2, 3. That way all your files will be closed the right way, and you won't lose any data. It'll give you a warning on there when you do a log off. It says that you must close all your sessions down, or your data can be lost or corrupted.
Right, exactly what Leo is saying. And under other circumstances, if you have a power fail, or if someone accidentally pushes the power off button on the CPU of the 6000, if you're in the application, all of a sudden you lost your power and your system is abnormally shut down or turned off. In order to bring your application back up and make sure your file system is properly working, you can, number 1, give us a call. Number 2, turn on the power and do not adjust or type any information at the keyboard. It will come up to a boot prompt and it'll sit there for a minute. If you let me state, by definition, there's a boot program. And it's an automated program that will check your boot file system, and it will adjust it if it needs modification. And it will also go into multi-user mode automatically and bring up your application once again if you don't interrupt this automated process. At any step, if you hit the enter key and keyboard input and interrupt that boot program, it will not automatically go into the root file system and automatically salvage, repair, clear the root file system and then boot to multi-user mode. You have to do it yourself. You've broken the automated process. So once again, if you don't shut down properly, if you lose power, when it's time, when you regain power, push the power button on and just step back and observe what messages you see. You should see that the root file system needs checking, and you should see, if you just wait there without any keyboard input, you should see it adjusting the root file system and then booting to multi-user mode. You can enter keyboard input when you actually see the login prompt and the login prompt. Wait till you see the login prompt. That's the training, and now we'll actually go down into the 6000 area and X terminals area to get some practice. Hey, Leo and Doug, do you have any questions, or should we just head down to the 6000 right now?
Let's go down to 6,000.
Okay.
Ready?
We get calls like this. Everything that I mentioned we get all the time, and when you guys start calling in and we put you on hold and whatnot, you know, something like this that we've gone over has happened, and we need to verbally walk you through it. We shouldn't now get calls saying, Damon, someone kicked off the PC. What do we do? Call us anyways to let us know, and we'll walk. You'll know the procedure anyways.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Turn it on.
Look for the root file system needs adjustment. Don't touch the keyboard, and we'll listen to you over the phone. Make sure that it does go through the root file system and whatnot. Always, no matter what, always call us. We have dealers infrequently, but it does happen. Log on as recover, and then we need to rebuild the database. And if they don't have a recent full volume backup, what we're talking about is extra man hours to locate, okay, what information do we have to add in to get back to the current date.
We're getting some flicker.
Okay, we're recording right now the reflections. Reflections. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to read it off. The remote mode is yes. The
Multi-page.
Okay.
Multi-page is yes.
Remote mode is yes. Multi-page is yes. Terminal type is VT300-7. DA response is VT340. Local echo is no. Language is English. National replacement, none. Use national replacement, none. Initial lab setup, none. E.g. character sets, MCS. Scrolling speed maximum, 130 column adapter, video 7. Horizontal scrolling method, auto, and that should be it. Let's exit this. And okay, we're digressing a little bit, but here is live training on one of our reflections terminal. It's a HP Vectra ES/12. Is this the 286?
286.
This is a 286, and we're going to show you how to get into reflections and bring up your 6000 menu. We're right now at the DOS prompt. Can you see that, Leo?
I have to zoom in.
Can you see it clearly? Okay, at the DOS prompt, do a dir/p, and it lists all the directories. You can see they're a lot. Ours is reflect 4. So we'll go into reflect 4 directory and type in R4 to bring up the application. And it's version 4.1. Pay particular attention to that. To get in and out of reflections application, your word processor, your terminal emulation program rather, F10 brings up the menu for reflections. F8 will ask you if you really want to exit reflections. F8 again, and it reflects it. And you're back at DOS. Let's type it one more time. R4 will get you into it. Now, version 4.1 is the version for reflections. F10 brings up the menu. F9 takes the menu away. If you hit the Enter key, you'll get a if you hit the Enter key, let's do this over. Someone was already into our program here. If you hit the Enter key, you should get a login prompt given the connections. You log in under your login prompt. And you're into the application. Version 5.0b is our 6000 version. And you use the function keys to go into the menus and take a look at communications or whatever you want to take a look at. And there's the polling messages that we were seeing. All of our devices are online. Let's get back out. Using these function keys to move around in the program. Do you want to exit? Yes. 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 You'll be back at the login prompt, and when you're back at the login prompt, you can exit reflections if need be. F10 brings up the menu, F9 takes the menu away, F10 brings it up again, hit F8 twice and you're back in reflections. Powered up the 6000. Rick, can you tell me what's going on here?
Okay, what we're doing is turning on the power. We're going to let it boot itself automatically. And for the most part, leave the keyboard.
Okay, and we're booting it up right now. It's reading the tape drive. If you don't touch the keyboard at all, it will automatically call up the boot program, and if the file system needs checking, it'll automatically check the file system. So if you just watch all the application boot up, it'll automatically boot up by itself as long as you don't interrupt the process by hitting the keyboard. Okay, it'll stay at that boot prompt for about 60 seconds and then move on to loading the kernel.
Go ahead, Mobile One.
981.
10-4-534. Attention all stations, KTC 203 security check. Mobile 1's 10-8, Mobile 2's Mobile 2.
PMS docking area.
It's calling up the database and is bringing the system up. It's bringing the terminal concentrator and host adapter board up right now, and eventually it'll bring up the Ethernet software for the
Security Mobile 1.
for our X terminal system.
Go ahead, Mobile 1.
10-6 garage.
10-4-535.
Once again, this is a normal startup, calling up the all of the application. This is a normal startup. If the root file system needed to be modified, it would have automatically checked the root file system and made any adjustments necessary. As long as you don't interrupt the process by hitting a key on the keyboard. The system has been successfully started up. Okay, now we're waiting for the login. Great. We have the login sign, and if you'll bear with us, Rick, can you briefly tell us who you are and tell us what we're about to accomplish today?
Okay, I'm Rick Espinoza, security supervisor on third shift, and we're learning the process on how to get doors open and closed, etc. on this new 6000 base we have here. And we're just learning how to log in and
Access the
how
doors.
to access the doors and also get into the computer.
Okay, so let's go ahead and log in.
Okay.
Paging
Now,
Sora.
do I just log in my name or do
Right.
I? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Security Gate 1.
Tom,
Okay,
call
try it one more time.
3153. 3153. Go ahead, Gate 1.
We have liquid air on site.
10-4-537.
This is the version number 5.0B of the 6000, and we're about to boot to the main menu.
Security Mobile 1.
Okay, this is the login
Go ahead, Mobile
menu
1.
for a security guard.
10-8 garage.
We're going to halt it right now and start practicing first.
10-4-538.
Hey, we're recording.
We're recording.
Okay, this is back from the training room, and we're about to start up the 6000. Doug is filming this installation bit, and Doug is from HP, the security manager whom you briefly met a while ago. Doug, we're going to focus in up here on this diagram. We have the SE6000 connected to the terminal concentrator MUX box, to the CIA communications input box, which has 8 ports, to a short haul modem, to building A, which has the CIA and 818s and 422s connected. Buildings A, B, and C each have these short haul modem arrangements with the CIA and your 818s and 422. We're going to bring all this equipment online one at a time by going into terminal mode and doing a loop back at each device. At the terminal concentrator, then at the CIA, then at the short haul modem, loop back at the CIA, and then issue host protocol to verify that the ACUs respond. The reason why we're doing this is to verify that the modems and all equipment is wired properly and the jumpers are set properly. So before I start doing the loopback test, I'd like to get into some detail about the terminal concentrator, because that's the device that brings it over from the RJ45 RS232 communications over to the DB25. Here is the terminal concentrator box, and here's the front of it. Doug, you might want to take a look at this right over here. Here's the front plate of the terminal concentrator, and here's the back portion of the terminal concentrator. On the front port, you have a green LED, and each port has a green LED and a yellow LED. The green LED represents handshaking signals. If you tie 6 and 8, pin 6 and 8, which is DSR and DCD, if you tie that high, the green LED will light. If you also connect the CTS, clear to send signal high, your 6000 is ready to transmit and receive. The yellow light will flash when it's receiving information from the ACUs. The back plate, let's take a look at the back plate. We have pins 1 through 8 on an RJ45 connector. If you orientate your flat telephone cable and your RJ45 connector, if you orientate it according to the plug at the back of your RS-232 and snap it in, Doug, let's take a look at this picture now. You'll see that reading from left to right, it starts at pin 1, which is ground, and consecutively works over through pin 8. Once again, the left-handmost side is pin 1, which is signal ground, and it works consecutively 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, going from left to right. Pin 1 is ground, pin 2 is an output. If you use your multi-tester, and now we're going to the other end of this cable so we can verify what type of voltages we have. Your reference is pin 1 and pin 2. Here's the adapter. Doug, can you see the adapter fine? You have an upper row and a lower row of wires. To verify which is pin 1, you take your multi-tester and put your negative probe on the blue wire, and put your positive probe on the orange wire. That is pins 1 and 2. You should register approximately 8 to 12 volts. That will, if you measure it on the other side, you'll get 0 voltage. So that's the orientation. Pins 1 and...
Over by the entrance.
Is it too loud?
Brown sewer.
Okay. Pins 1 and 2 are your reference for 8 to 12 volts. Pin 1 being ground. 2 and 3 are our outputs. 4 is your transmit. 5 is your receive. 6 is your DCD. 7 is clear to send, and 8 is your DSR.
Level 1 security.
Now let's try to do the loopback test.
When you get a chance,
Back up
would you
here
open
at the
garage
terminal
for Randy
concentrator.
Jennifer with
Let's do the
Skyline?
loopback test at the terminal concentrator, then a loop back at the CI8, then a loop back at the short haul, then a loop back at the remote short haul, and then a loop back at the CI8, and then let's send the host protocol L01, L02, L0X to the devices and verify that they process it and send a signal back. Okay,
25.
we'll boot up the 6000, and this will take a minute. We'll be back.
Is this
Okay.
processing?
We're, Jason, we'll start this in 1 minute. We're about to do the loopback tests, and we're starting the first loopback right at the terminal concentrator. Leo, can you see this adapter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This cable is playing straight in the back of the terminal concentrator, and we'll do a loopback right at the terminal concentrator. To determine which conductors we'll be dealing with, there are 4 on each side of this adapter, 4 lower ones and 4 upper ones. To determine which is pin 1, you can use your multi-tester to verify that there's 8 to 12 volts between 1 and 2. If you take these outer conductors, these are 1, 3, 5, and 7. 1, 3, 5, and 7, and 2, 4, 6, 8 up on the top. Between 1 and 2, you should have between 8 and 12 volts. If you measure the other side, you'll have 0 volts. So that's your orientation. Once again, it's oriented according to how the plug plugs into the adapter with the tab on the lower side. So let's go ahead and do a loopback test. Okay. Okay, now zoom in on the screen. Okay, we are shorting the appropriate wires. We're shorting transmit to receive, and we're shorting pin 6, 7, and 8 together, DCD, DSR, and RTS. We should be able to perform a loopback at the MUX box now. Can you see the screen clearly?
Yes.
You can? Okay, we'll go ahead and connect up. It shows connected, and now let's do a loopback. We've shorted transmit to receive. And let's take a look. Can you go ahead and halt the camera for a minute?
Sure.
Okay, we're removing that and we're connecting this. Okay. And
Might want to check to make sure. Okay. go
okay,
ahead.
we did not have loopback because the cable wasn't plugged in properly.
See that? I can't see that.
You can't see this adapter?
No.
That's okay. I'm not going to show it. Hey Leo, can you hold this?
Sure.
Can you hold this adapter? Thank you. Okay, let's try it one more time. Okay, you can hold the camera again. Was that we had a non-functional cable.
That's the trash back,
Okay, Leo, we'll try it one more time. Can you read the monitor?
Yep.
That's D, isn't it?
Upper D.
Yeah, upper D.
Okay, we have loopback. We're using the 6000 connected up to our terminal concentrator as a dumb terminal, and everything's working fine. We do have loopback. Now let's put the CI8 in line and see what happens to the CI8. And you can still read the monitor?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's hook up the CI8 now. Remove this cable, remove this cable, and hook up the CI8. The CI8 cable is right up here. Three.
Security standing.
Okay, we are trying to get there.
Read 7.
Excellent. And we'll short it together with these two.
Well, shouldn't even take her break until 11:56, so probably not another 20 minutes.
Okay, that's green and red. Okay. Green. Ready, Leo?
Yep.
Okay,
We're
you're stopping
rolling.
and starting it as I move around, right? You're
No,
start.
we're rolling.
We're rolling. Okay. Now we've connected up the CI8 and we're shorting back one of the RS-232 ports up the CI8, and we have loopback. We can see that we can type in keyboard input. Everything's working fine. Let's remove the short and do a loopback at one of our modems. And once again, now with the modems in line, we're putting one device on after the other device, and with the modems online, we can still loop back and everything works. This is with one of the remote modems already looping back. Okay, now let's try and see if the devices will respond now. Two. Can you read these? Where my finger is, can you read L01?
Yep.
You can
As long
read
as you
it
keep
clearly?
your finger there, yeah, 'cause it's trying to focus it, but yeah, you need the reference.
Okay.
We got time to smoke a cigarette?
Yep, go ahead. Do you want to bring the camera closer so you can clearly see the message, or is that good enough?
That's good.
That's good enough? Okay, L01 is responding, L02 is responding, L03, You notice as I type in the host protocol L04, you don't see it transmitted on the stage. It's being broadcasted through the boxes and short haul modems. And you see that the units respond back. L05, L06,
Where they keep the life jackets and...
L07. All the units are responding back. L04 is not responding. It's not hooked up yet. So now we can anticipate starting up the 6000 and having all of our designated devices coming online. Control brake, shift,
I don't know what's on there. Did you guys try to look it up?
and we're disconnected. You could have run this test by hooking up a dumb terminal to your CI8. We just use the 6000 as the dumb terminal, and you can always call Westinghouse and we can walk you through how to set it up. Okay, let's go back and go into and start up the 6000
That's just gonna come in
Farm.
and verify that the devices come online.
Boathouse 4351. I don't think that stuff's the same. No, it would be the same as the farm.
Looks like a catalog mistake on it.
Go into the monitor security activity, control functions, polars,
Padlock?
and cursor down. When you restart the polar, you'll see that the polar starts, the devices come online, and you start getting log messages that have been buffered from the ACUs. That completes our installation. We've wired the devices from a 6000 to a CI8 to short haul modem to CI8 to all your ACUs. We did a terminal mode test in summary, and now all the devices are responding. And that completes our startup installation and startup phase. That's it. We're in the process of now, we're at startup, and yep, and we're about to shut down the system. And let's take a look at how we shut down the system. You log in as shutdown, and we're already in the process of shutting down the system. Before you shut down the system, you log off all terminals, all sessions, Ethernet and Reflections terminals. And this process can take a minute or two, so we're going to turn this off and reboot the system. We'll reboot the system when we see a sign that says safe to power off.
Did I do that right?
Down, and it's safe to power off. Jason, go ahead and power off.
Do you want me to reboot it? Or?
Yes, just hit what you can do, Jason, if you step aside for 1 minute. Did you hit any key to continue? Okay. Okay, and if you leave, okay, I guess we already filmed this. This is about auto boot, so we're all set.